guys, we are back. We are talking The Real Housewives of New York, season 12, episode 23, which is the reunion part 2. So this episode starts off exactly where we left off. Dorinda and Tinsley are still going at it, and Dorinda makes a comment that I wasn't quite sure that I understood why she was saying that. This is what she said, and I quote, "I would never want to be in a codependent relationship with no financial security and wait for a man to come to my rescue." I don't understand that, because this is Tinsley Mortimer we're talking about. And when I Googled her net worth, which I do know that Google is not always right, she comes up anywhere between 25 to 30 million dollars. So why does she need Scott for financial security? I don't know. Am I wrong? Is Tinsley not an heiress? I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. Andy tells Dorinda, he says, if you thought that Tinsley's relationship was unhealthy, why didn't you say anything to Tinsley? Or why didn't you say anything to the other girls? Personally, if she really cared for Tinsley and she truly thought that relationship was unhealthy, as a friend and as the quote older, wiser, more mature woman, why wouldn't she pull her to the side without all the girls? She could have pulled her to the side off season, off camera, and said, hey, let's talk about your relationship with Scott. I don't want anything bad to happen to you. I don't want you to be put in a bad place. You know, something. Don't just wait till the cameras roll to treat her like total crap. I just hate the way she did this poor girl. But what I do like about this episode, Tinsley came to fight, honey. She did not lay back like a little baby. She did not act like Bambi. She was not crying. She was straightforward, and she told people to be quiet when she wanted to talk. I appreciated this Tinsley. Tinsdale came to play. Brenda came back with a not so good comeback, and she says, well, you and the producers as well told us that we're supposed to share our lives and be transparent. Oh my gosh, Tinsley wasn't transparent, and Sonia knew she was seeing Scott. We all knew she was seeing Scott, and she starts listing like all these places that Tinsley and Scott had been seen, where they went, and all this other stuff.
We know she went to Argentina.
Why do you have a tracker on her? First of all, I didn't go to Las Vegas.
How does she know all this?
But I still don't understand why that made you so nuts.
Why does it make you foam at the mouth? I don't know.
Because she wasn't transparent.
She was transparent.
Ramona breaks in the conversation and she says, wait a minute now, you have not always been transparent. She said, you didn't tell us about that relationship with you and John breaking up. She said it had to be dropped to page 6, and that's how we brought it into the show. Then Dorinda says that one of her friends is the person who shared that information with page 6. I mean, it was ridiculous. She goes down that path I was talking about earlier, listing all the places that Tinsley and Scott went to. And Ramona said, well, what in the heck? Do you have a tracker on the girl? And Luann said, how do you know all this stuff? And I am with them. Girl, what were you doing? Did you have friends and spies telling you where she was, what she was doing, and why? Why? You have Bluestone Manor. You have your New York City apartment. You have a daughter and a life. My thing is does your daughter get privacy? Because Tinsley certainly doesn't. Tinsley says that she has been extremely forthright. She has talked about her family, her father's alcoholism. She has talked about the fact that she was sad and hurt and disappointed that she wasn't married with children, and that she wanted children and she wanted a husband. She talked about her life on that show. She cried on that show many times. We've seen Tinsley's ups and downs throughout the whole time she was on the show. So I don't believe this she wasn't transparent story. There was a fan question, and they said, ladies, good friends don't bully you and disrespect you, while other good friends stay and watch silently. Why is it that none of you came to Tinsley's defense? Sonia jumps up, honey. She's got an...
I felt that Dorinda was hurting, and she felt taken advantage of.
Hurting. I'm not
and Tinsley played victim with me, darling.
Listen, there was a point in the season where Tinsley did play more victim. She was on more victim mode than she was survivor mode. And she laid back and she cried and she did the high-pitched squeal and all of that stuff when we all thought, I say we all, but I can't speak for all of you guys. You guys are my people, but I can't speak for you. What I'm saying is, at one point I was yelling at my TV saying, girl, don't sit there whining and crying and high pitched. Get in. You know what I mean? Tag in. I'm up. And let Dorinda have it. I thought that she was too relaxed and too nice to Dorinda. You have to sometimes, arguing with Dorinda is like playing double dutch with your friends. You know what I mean? How you stand there, the ropes are turning, which is Dorinda in her volatile mouth, and then all of a sudden you just pop in. You're in there now. You know, you've got to get in there with Dorinda. It is like a prize battle of double dutch. I'm getting in here and I'm gonna jump all over your head. You know what I mean? Something like that. Yes, I've been drinking the energy drink again. Anyway, I'm gonna stop drinking those. Now, normally I never agree with Ramona, but I agreed with Ramona. One of the comments that she had, she says that this particular season, when Dorinda gets angry, she's like a tsunami. And that is true. This season, Dorinda was hard to deal with. She was a complete tsunami. And if you aren't used to confrontation, if you are not used to having to defend yourself, you could easily become victim to the tsunami who is Dorinda. So I totally understood what Ramona was saying that time.
You're
It's a
sorry
terrible
for accusing
time.
me of being with Scott when I wasn't.
And I'm
Are you
sorry,
for the fact that I was under so
Tinsley,
much
listen,
pain from not
and
being
I
with
hope
him? No,
you
I'm
live
not.
well,
Stop,
do
Ramona.
well, and
So let
in
me
the-
have this
and
little
in
moment to talk for
retrospect,
one
I'm
damn
sorry.
second.
Okay.
It's way too little, too late.
Sorry, Dorinda was trying to give this apology, but I wasn't feeling anything genuine about it. I mean, I could be wrong. As I've said, I've been wrong before. But I didn't really feel that that was a genuine apology. I don't think that she sincerely is sorry for the way she treated Tinsley. And I appreciate the fact that Tinsley rolled her eyes and said, too late. No, it's too late for I'm sorry. She had plenty of opportunities to sit down with Tinsley and talk to her and have this conversation and work things out. Tinsley was absolutely right when she said, as soon as you found out that John had that money, it was over. You were vicious. She was on that girl. And I don't care what Dorinda tries to say, it was all about that money. Tinsley did not come to play around with Dorinda. She said, we are going to do this my way today. There was a fan question. They wanted to know what Dorinda thought of Ramona's comment that Dorinda may have been jealous of Tinsley because Scott was able to give Tinsley all the things that Richard used to give to her. Dorinda comes back and says, I'm happy for you, but I wouldn't give up my life to be totally dependent on another person. Which brings us back to the original question. Doesn't Tinsley have her own money? I was for sure she did. Tinsley says that she has absolutely no regrets. She has a great relationship with Scott, and she feels that Dorinda's need to always be right is going to be her Achilles heel. She says that all the way down to her detriment. And that is true for some people. Some people have to be right every time. Some people have to get the last word. If they do not, it is a problem. And I feel that Dorinda will learn. She's going to learn. She probably has learned now that, we know that she's been fired. And a lot of people, a lot of blogs, a lot of outlets were saying that she was fired due to her behavior at the reunion. Now, so far, her part 1 and part 2, her behavior has been quite crazy, but it's not as bad as it was during the season. So I'm assuming her real crazy behavior is going to be part 3, which is next week, and I can't wait to see that. Andy asked Dorinda why she got so mad at the mere mention of Tinsley's name at the end of the season drag bingo party that Sonia had. She says that she was upset because it wasn't authentic, that Tinsley did not bring Leah to the show. It was Bethany, which I mentioned a couple videos back, that some blogs are reporting that it was Bethany that brought Leah to the show. But it ended up showing Tinsley bringing Leah to the show because Bethany had left. Andy clarifies that whole thing, and he says, yes, Bethany gave them a list of 30 women that she thought would be great additions to the show. The casting directors also provided a list, and Leah happened to be on both lists. She was going to be introduced by Bethany, but a day before production started, Bethany quit. They said a few weeks before production started, Leah and Tinsley started hanging out. Andy says, who cares? It does not matter. What is the big deal? Anyway, Dorinda says at the end of the day, she didn't like the fact that they were implying that Tinsley brought Leah to the group. It wasn't true. She felt as if Tinsley had left the show. She had just up and left, and she should not get any kudos or celebration at the end. The only people that should be celebrated or mentioned are the people who toughed it out and stayed the whole season. Dorinda believes that Leah should have had a speech that just said that she was happy to meet all of them. And my thing is you are not Leah. Leah has the right to say whatever she wants to say. In the end, she met Tinsley. They became good friends. Tinsley ushered her into the show. She introduced you guys, and she wanted to say thank you to Tinsley, and she should be allowed to do that. Back down when you have lost, Dorinda. This is looking crazy. Andy comes back and says, listen, Tinsley spoke to me, she spoke to Bravo, and she spoke to their other production company. And we were all in agreement. If she wanted to leave, she could leave. There was no hard feelings on either part. Dorinda gets a little bit upset or agitated, I assume, and she says, well, I've learned something. I've learned that you don't have to finish the season. You can just walk away when you want to, and you don't have to be transparent. In the middle of all of that, Ramona says, what is wrong with her? Then out of nowhere, Ramona gets up. She says, I have to go to the bathroom. Well, she actually says, I have to go pee. And she just gets up and walks off. Andy's like, Ramona. I say, fire her for that. You don't just get up in mid-production. Fire her, Andy. We did answer that question that has been burning in everyone's head. Who put the vibrator in the chicken? Is anybody surprised that it was Sonia? No. Andy did ask Luann how Ramona adding her to her suite in the basement was being disrespectful. And she said that Ramona told her she was getting this beautiful room and she was getting top choice. And then when she got there, she found out that she was in the basement. And she felt that nobody ever cares about her concerns or her needs, and they just give her the leftovers. They could have given her the choice that she wanted, and she would have found something to complain about. I'm sorry, Luann, you are too much. Then Andy brought up Ramona's comments about the servants.
Absolutely. It should have been such a great staff, and I own it. I'm antiquated, I'm old, and I don't always know the right proper words.
It's not the first time you...
She is absolutely disrespectful that way every time. When you think about it and you go back on all the trips that they have taken, at some point, Ramona is being extremely rude to the staff. She is rude. Look how she treated that food delivery man in the Berkshires at Bluestone Manor, and we did not see her tip that guy. What is going on with her? She thinks that she's on a higher tier than everybody else, and the truth is, Ramona, that is not the case. And the thing is, it's just disrespectful and rude. Ramona says that Luann is more approachable now. She's more easygoing, she's easy to talk to, she's pleasant, and now that she's not drinking as much, she is absolutely someone that they love to be around. She's a better person. Andy says he really surprised him that Luann and Dorinda made up after their little hiccup in the Berkshires. Luann corrected him and said, wait a minute, we had more than one little hiccup. She said it was the Berkshires and it was in Mexico. And that is the truth. Dorinda didn't care who you were. She would tell you off. And Luann was told off quite a bit this season. Dorinda says that in the Berkshires, she was just really upset with the way that Luann was treating Sonia, and she got really emotional, and she had been drinking, and she really likes Luann. They like each other, and she was happy that they made up. Leah says that she thinks that Luann is down to earth and that she can be all about herself sometimes. However, she finds that endearing. There was a fan question for Luann. The fan said, please stop telling people that you were incarcerated or that you were in prison. You were arrested and spent one night in jail. You were never on parole. You were on probation. Kudos to you for your work you've done with Fortune Society. And I think that was valid. A lot of people were saying on social media that she was playing this one night in jail up as if she had been, locked down for 20 years. She did mention that she is still working with Fortune Society and that prison reform is something that's very important to her, and that she realizes that there are a lot of innocent people that have been imprisoned and should be free. She also mentioned that there are a lot of people that are spending years upon years in jail for petty crime. So I appreciate that she is working with the Fortune Society and that she's trying to help right some of these wrongs. Another fan question came in and they wanted to know, is it true that Luann only paid Sonia half the amount of her hair and makeup for her performing in her cabaret? And Sonia says, yes, it is absolutely true. Luann doesn't really pay her.
Director and people that were running the show, I was in charge of basically what?
I've never been
Anyway,
paid.
so
Did you see Sonia playing the violin in the back? This is the Sonia that I like. I really think she is hilarious. I love a clear-minded, sober Sonia. She is funny. And, you know, her and Luann at the end of it all made up. Luann tells her that she does value her and that once the cabaret picks back up, she would love to have Sonia if she's willing and that she will pay her. One thing I noticed too throughout this episode, Ramona has some serious hate for Bethany. She was throwing we don't need to talk about Bethany. Who cares about Bethany? What was that about? I think it was because Bethany is the only one, seriously, who stands up to Ramona and brings her back to reality on a regular basis. She could not stand next to Bethany without Bethany informing her of how wrong she was about something. Bethany never let Ramona talk down to her or be disrespectful to her. Not only that, when Bethany saw Ramona doing something or acting a certain way, she would always call it out. That's why Ramona doesn't like Bethany. Then they did a montage of all the ladies and all the flirting and the men of this season, but at the very end it was Sonia.
Ever. Like grandma.
oh my God.
That guy still calls me.
Oh my God.
I love her. She said, that guy still calls me. I love her. The woman is a mess. She really is. I don't know. It's something about her. And then when they asked about Ramona's friend William, who she says, who? And then she's like, oh, I call him Bill. When they asked about Bill, it got a little weird.
Ramona, that's just, you gotta stop it.
gotta stop. Bill and I are just
call
friends.
Bill right
We're
now.
just friends.
Now you
He's
are.
sexy.
But your
He's
friends,
hot.
basically, if you weren't, you were still
bless.
menstruating, you'd be pregnant.
I don't know what Dorinda was doing, but girl, stop it. Throughout the last two parts of the reunion, she keeps on bringing up Ramona and sleeping with people and, you know, leave Ramona alone. I have no idea what this is about, but why can't you just leave Ramona alone? Why am I defending Ramona? Everybody knows that I am not Team Ramona. I don't know why I'm defending Ramona, but still. Okay, I know why. Because it's wrong to shame this woman about who she slept with or who she didn't sleep with. Back off, Dorinda. Then when they were talking to Dorinda and she wasn't quite mentioning that she's dating, she's clearly dating. There's this guy that she's been showing off on Instagram. There was a video that she posted the other day where the song Lovely Day was playing in the background and she was like laying by the pool at Bluestone Manor with this guy that kind of looks like Brooks. Yes, Brooks, like Vicky's old Brooks. And she was very smitten. She was all about this man. And the thing that was weird is people were getting down in her comments telling her that she was being used. And I thought, the woman is posting how happy she is and she's in love. And you're saying that she's being used. Like, leave the woman alone. But then just the other day, she posted this clip where she was doing the tap in challenge.
It's fat, baby, tap in. Tap, tap, tap in. Diamonds dancing on your neck.
Isn't she cute? I love Dorinda when she's sober and happy. Then they come up to Ramona and Leah. And Andy gives her a new nickname, Ramama.
There's a part of her that I don't quite get. I'm a little more controlled, a little more, not so wild.
Oh, God. Conservative.
Because anytime I say sex, penis, friends with benefits, I am held to such a different standard than everyone else.
You know, I find Sonia funny like Lucille Ball, and I find your sexual things a little more crass. Sorry, that's me.
Ramona is clearly overreacting. It's very clear that Ramona does not like the spotlight or the shine that Leah has been given. She doesn't like the fact that it seems that the show is more interested in Leah and that the fans are probably more interested in Leah. And she does have a huge double standard. Ramona and Sonia have been friends for years. Sonia acts out all the time. Sonia is always talking about her vagina, who she is going to be with, who she's had, who, you know, she's always loud-mouthed and kissing people and just doing a lot. But whenever Leah talks about the same things, Sonia bashes her for it, and everybody is over it. Everybody sees it, including Andy. He's like, there's a huge double standard. I mean, the whole thing was absolutely ridiculous. I mean, the way Sonia acted at that man's $35 million mansion, I remember that. She was all over the place. And Ramona just smiled. Come on now. Listen, some of the stuff that Leah does when she's drunk is rough. It's hard to take. It's the same thing with the other girls. Some things they do is rough and hard to take too. You can't pick and choose. Then Andy said, is it true that one of your friends told you about Leah's bipolar? And Leah mentions that a year before she had wrote that blog about her bipolar. And Ramona says, yes, one of her friends got on Google and found out that Leah was bipolar. And Leah was just upset because Ramona brought it up on camera, and she brought it up to Sonia and not her. And another thing Ramona brought up is her being on bipolar medication and drinking. Leah says that she's not on bipolar medication. She also says that her daughter did not know that she was diagnosed as bipolar, and she would have appreciated it if they could have kept that off the show. And Andy says, well, you wrote a blog about it, so, you know, what does it matter? And she says, well, I'm new to the show. It's my first year. I haven't had a chance to talk to my daughter. You know, she wanted the courtesy that Ramona didn't give her. Then Ramona comes back.
America are on antidepressants.
I don't care about that.
I
The
have
fact
been
is
in
that
bed
you
with
brought it
people
up
for
in a
30
way
days.
to
You know what?
validate
Own
me.
it and help America.
Then she says that she totally regrets that she did that. She should have talked to Leah about it. And Leah says, you're right. You're absolutely right. You should have talked to me about it. Next thing you know, Dorinda says that Ramona is an absolute liar, and she's definitely going around talking about her renewed skincare line when she knows that she's had a facelift. Ramona looks like she's had a facelift, to be honest. And Andy asked her, he said, Ramona, did you get work done? Did you get a facelift? She looks at Andy strangely, and then she says, no. She's lying. I think she had something done. I mean, can I prove it? No. But I don't think that that renewed cream that she's selling is doing all of that. Then Dorinda brings up her sleeping around again. She says, be honest, you're a liar and you lay around with a different man every night. Lord have mercy. Dorinda, mind your business. Mind your business. This is part of the reason you're in trouble now, because you can't mind your business. Oh, these ladies are a lot to deal with, but I am ready for part 3. I have a feeling that we're about to see some craziness with Dorinda, and I hope you guys stick around to watch it with me. And until next time, bye.